Hi, everybody. I'm calling our February 1st, 2024 meeting of the Sherborn Conservation Commission to order. We'll have a roll call, presence of vote. I'll call your name this time since it gets chaotic. Michael Lesser, present. Courtney,
Present.
say your name, say your full name.
Courtney Eck, present.
Jacob,
Jacob Strauss present.
Terry,
Teresa Luskin present.
Steve.
Steve Scrimshaw present.
Okay, and we can say, we'll see if he gets here in 2 seconds. I see Matt showing up, but okay. Okay, were there any issues that came up in the last 48 hours or something that require an addition or change to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, we'll just proceed with the agenda as is. We have a few minutes before our first hearing. I'll just skip to a few things here. Joyce, oh, you do have something? I don't hear you.
No, I wanted to see if you could hear me.
Oh, now I can hear you, yes.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Okay, running down a few things, announcement again. Try to remember to look at the MACC annual conference, see whether you're going, and we can all see who's going together. So that's one thing. I don't know, does anybody else have any other quick announcements? Okay, Matt, now that you're here, why don't you say your name and that you're present?
Matt Olair, present.
Great, okay. In our couple of minutes here, looking at the issues here, I don't think there's a warrant. We have some minutes we'll do later. The FY25 budget. Courtney and I were in front of advisory last night and explained the budget, and there was some questions about various little odds and ends of it all, but essentially there seemed to be any problems or concerns with what we've put forth. Is that captured accurately, Courtney?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. They didn't even, the whole issue of financing from another fund and all that kind of stuff didn't even come up. Okay, let's see here. Administrative approvals. We have 32 Wildwood, and are these all out of jurisdiction? Joyce?
Yes, there was one, the soil testing was out of jurisdiction, and the other two were updates for the design of the septic system.
Okay, and they're still all out of jurisdiction. Okay, for the record, it's 62 Prospect Street and then 58 Mill Street, in addition to the first one, 32 Wildwood Drive. Okay, 7:20. I can now reopen the continued public hearing for an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation, DEP file 283-448 for 0 Meadowbrook Road and 0 Coolidge Street, maps 5 and lot 32 and 48A. And I guess it's LEC representing Toll Brothers. Okay, whoever wants to take the lead here
Sure.
Get Ted here.
I will take the lead. Thank you. Mark Manganello with LEC Environmental. You'll recall that we were before you presenting this ANRAD about a month ago. At that time, we had a planned site visit with Joyce the following day, which we were able to do before the snow came, fortunately. We made a few revisions to the delineation, and I'll share my screen here and kind of walk you through it, if that's okay.
Sure.
That's not the right screen, is it?
Oh yeah, there's the other phone. No, why?
Let's try the other one. Hang on. How about that?
Sure.
Can see a plan, okay. So you'll recall this property is off Meadowbrook Road and Coolidge Road. There's a bordering vegetated wetland up here. This is Meadowbrook and Gray Road is a dead end. There's a BVW here, which was the A series. We moved a few flags in here. I'll just zoom in so you can see. The old flags are in light gray here, A3, A4, A5. We moved 2 of them back, got rid of A5 and connected 4 to 6. And then over here, we moved A10 back a bit. And then over by the property line, we moved A25 down about 10 or 15 feet. See if I can get to the next page. This is Coolidge Street down at the bottom of the image here. And this wetland crosses the property, again, bordering vegetated wetland. We just made one change here where my cursor is at C10. We agreed to remove flag C10 and connect C9 to C11 to make the wetland a little bigger right there. So those were the changes we made. We submitted revised plans. I think Joyce and I are in agreement on the wetland delineation. We continued the last hearing 2 weeks ago to resolve some wrinkles in the property owner's signature. We have that complete at this point accurately. So I think we're at a point now where we're in agreement with everything and can move toward closing the hearing unless you all have some questions for us.
Sure. Starting with Joyce, I guess you confirm all of this for the record?
Sure, yes, we walked all the wetland flags and then we walked the remainder of the property just to see if there were any other areas, and with these revisions, this accurately reflects the wetlands. The wetland line that's flagged on the ground.
Okay. Good. Do any commissioners have any questions about this?
No, seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, seemed to me. Okay, hearing that there are no questions and seems that Joyce has reviewed the line and walked the property, importantly. I will then say that I move to approve this wetland delineation and that we can issue an ORAD.
Do you have to move, do we have to separate into closing the hearing first?
No, I don't think so. Oh, do you have to do that with an ORAD, AMRAD?
I don't know.
It's the same as a notice of intent.
Yeah, it's a hearing, so I think we have to close the hearing and
In that case, I will withdraw my motion. Okay, I will now move to close the hearing.
second.
Okay, any further discussion? Roll call vote. Michael, I. Courtney,
Aye.
Jacob,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Matt.
Aye.
Okay.
Terry,
Oh, Terry.
aye.
Oh, you're new. You're off the screen. I can't see everybody. Sorry.
Michael,
Yeah, I'll learn.
I will just say for the record that there are no abutters or any guests
Oh, okay.
to ask questions. We didn't skip that on purpose.
Yes, that's true. I often do miss that. Thank you. Okay, now I move to approve the wetland delineation of an issue in ORAD for this property.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Michael, I. Courtney,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Jacob,
Aye.
Terry.
Aye.
Okay. Done. Any questions from you guys or?
Nope, just thank you all. Appreciate it.
Okay, sure.
Thank you for your time, guys.
Thank
Okay,
you.
right. We'll see you
Good
again
night.
sometime. Okay. Right,
Bye.
okay, it's 7:26. Let's see, we did the budget. Do you have any site issues? Joyce?
I do not. I do not.
Oh, okay. That pause gave me pause. Going on with other stuff here, I see a tree removal application. Do
There
we-
was a tree removal application. So I haven't in the past been putting the, sorry, I'm gonna roll over somebody.
Yeah.
I haven't in the past put those on the agenda, but now I am starting to.
Okay, fine. So that's all appropriate and taken care of. Granted. Who are you rolling over? But
Something small and furry.
well, we didn't hear any noises, so I guess it wasn't too bad. Okay, going on to, before we open the next hearing, let's move on to minutes. I'm gonna open up a few on the screen, the 2 minutes we have here on the screen. Let's go back here. Let me share the screen. Doo-doo-doo. Okay.
I looked at these before the meeting and I didn't have anything.
Okay, so I've looked through it. So it's up to you, Terry, Jacob, and Matt and Steve, whether you guys tell me when you're finished.
Let's see. Let me figure out if I looked at this one already. I know I looked at the other one.
Oh, yeah, I think you looked at the other one and I included your suggestions.
Good.
Looks ducky to me.
What more could I ask?
Same.
Oh, Matt, are you able to read this?
I'm gonna guess that he shouldn't take his eyes off the road.
Right, exactly. I assume he's still in the car. I can't remember where he is.
Yeah, but I trust Jacob. He's pretty thorough.
Okay, there you go. Wow. Oh, there's a big vote of confidence. Okay, so then we just had the three of you to go through. Okay.
Is and the let's see, Farm Road isn't Straw Wattles, isn't that 2 T's, not 2 D's? Up at the top, end of that paragraph.
Okay.
Maybe it was ducks.
Yeah, no, it should be 2 T's.
Yes. Yep, Jacob, you're earning that confidence. I can make it bigger if somebody needs.
It's good by me for this page.
Yep. Good to continue.
Good from my end.
Okay.
Stokegrass, one word, I think it may be.
Oh, what was that again? What word? You're muted.
Is stilt grass one word? I don't know exactly where I saw it because I've just looked it up, but it's
It is one
Sure.
word? It is one word.
I think so.
Okay, yeah, it's, blah, 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 blah. Where was it again here? That's under the.
I
Hold on.
can't remember where I saw it.
Where was it here? Oh, there it is.
It's about the 8th.
Yeah. Okay,
Otherwise, I think it's Japanese stilt grass, but I don't know.
yeah. Well, Bird doesn't know it, but
Yeah, I think that the tendency is to remove the geographic tagging recently.
hmm,
You know, not weed is not weed, or it's the genus and species, not Japanese knot grass. Not, sorry, not weed.
hmm. That's
I think it's
interesting.
just a movement.
Wow. And on top of a few others we need.
The rest looks good to me.
Me too.
Yes, fine. I don't know how persnickety syntactically you guys are, but second paragraph, the JL switched. The next sentence feels kind of run on to me. He indicated the survey located 96 trees on the property. I might either semicolon or say and 87 of the trees are located within. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
Depends on whether that bothers you.
Well, at this moment.
I'm good.
Me too.
Onward you go if you like.
Last one.
Can I ask a question about on the second line, soils, comma, topography, wet setback and wetland setback? I'm not sure I understand wet.
Yeah, you can take out the wet setback.
Thank you.
What is the grammar suggestion in the near the bottom? The ML recommended the commissioners review the presented document.
It's just nothing much because I actually looked that up before.
Yeah, I don't. Okay, yeah, ignore it.
Yeah, I just sort of, I had hit ignore. I don't know why it keeps popping up. I mean, I guess every time I close it and then open it, it goes through the same review.
Looks good to me.
I might wonder about, sorry, detail.
Sure.
The fourth paragraph, why there is no alternatives. Why there are no alternatives or make alternatives
Yeah, right.
singular.
Um,
Just a little agree.
sure. It's interesting that grammar check didn't get it.
I'm good with this.
Same.
Mm-hmm. Good, good.
Okay, let's file. Oops. Yeah. I think I'll just save as. Okay, that's done. Eighteenth. Okay.
Fine.
Looks good to me.
Me too.
Two. Oh, you're not done yet.
There's a little grammatical thing in the highlighted he made. He might provide suggestions in the report.
Yep, that's what I was gonna comment on.
I provide,
See what
Provide-
suggestions support he might provide.
might provide suggestions. And support, what's the edit that we want?
The suggested one in the highlight is the right change.
Oh. Oops. Okay.
Two paragraphs, or sorry, are there two periods at the end of the noted that they have been measuring water levels in the. Yep, okay.
And the next
I'm
one
good.
down, in fact, there might not be access. or they might not have access.
Oh.
Yeah, that one, the selected one would work, suggested.
oh,
I think a comma in front of in fact, like just break off the in fact with 2 commas and comma, in fact, comma, yet. Rest looks good.
I agree.
you okay, Jacob?
Yep. Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay, fine. I couldn't tell by. All right.
I suppose if you really want, you could change the JS left the meeting and returns to JS turns his speakers off without noticing, but it's probably better to leave it as is.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that might be better than just saying he didn't know what he was doing.
It's not important, but it's more amusing, certainly.
No, I think I like the other thing. Let's tell the whole story here. The dog was doing this and
I'm all set.
is somebody sawing or is that a dog breathing?
Now, yeah, that's my dog. That's
Okay, it's fine. I don't mind the noise. I just suddenly realized it sounded like somebody sawing.
It's like, as long as nobody's breathing like that, human, then I think we're okay.
You're right, that's true.
And I think somebody's got a problem and they should see a doctor.
We'll have to have a roll call vote to see who's having respiratory
yeah,
problems.
the rest here looks good.
I think so too.
Okay. I guess there's nothing here. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, perfect timing. Let's save as. Whoops, what's this?
Get rid of the agenda. Some of
Yeah.
them said agenda.
Okay,
Should we move to approve the
so you can do that. Well, you can start that.
January 18th, 2024 minutes as edited?
Why don't you do both of them?
And the other one.
Oh, right. And what was the date? November
November 2nd,
2nd,
2023.
2023. As edited as well.
Second.
Terry, I second, okay.
Oh, you could say, yeah. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Michael, I, Jacob,
Aye.
Courtney,
Aye.
Terry,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Matt.
I,
Okay. We got 2 sets of minutes. We're catching up inch by inch. At least if we do 2 a meeting, we're doing something. Okie dokie, we'll get rid of this. Close this. And share, and we got here, and share. Let's see, what we got here. Okay, I am now reopening the hearing on the Sherborn wetland regulations, where we're drafting changes for a subsequent hearing on. Now, Jacob created a new clean version 4, which I just had because I only started looking through it. What I think, there was also the version that I sent out last time for everybody to read. I only got, I got a little bit of feedback from Joyce and Jacob's work here. And I guess when Kurt said he wasn't showing up, I asked him to send me if he had any comments. So I don't know if other people have comments on their own versions, because what I was going to suggest is I'd like to walk through a number of changes that came out of last week and some of the things that Jacob did. Last meeting, I mean, and then maybe go back to the exercise that we once talked about it with Steve about whether we look at the how the buffer zone regs now read in terms of applying it to a new lot that's totally undisturbed buffer zone. Do people have additional comments on the draft that I sent out after the last meeting? Okay.
And I definitely did make a bunch of changes.
Yeah, I
based
know.
on
Don't
that.
worry, I found them. I have some comments about some of them, but thank you. And I saw a lot of little, plus you made a handful of some good little grammar catches.
Yeah, I just ended up reading through most of what's here.
Yeah, no, I was impressed that you read it that carefully. Let's see. Okay. Now, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to selectively walk through here, and some of this is the definitions, which Joyce brought up, some of. I sort of highlighted some things here, or I did track edits in this. Okay, let's go to, is this big enough for everybody, or should I make it bigger?
It works for me.
Yep.
I've expanded my own.
Okay. So let me know, anybody can pipe up here. One thing here on bank. I guess what Joyce brought up here is where I guess a little bit more, and which I don't mind. I just wanted to address it directly, that we're in a sense more extensive than the state in the sense of defining the area of bank. Is there any?
Yeah, Michael, this was an example of the note that I sent where I wasn't sure whether this was a inadvertent difference or something that we intended to be different from the state regulations, because they're
I think
higher versus lower.
I think that was intentional.
But
What do
what
you
based on what? My concern was based on what?
Oh,
Because
okay.
the definition the Wetlands Protection Act came up with is based on a lot of research. And I mean, this happened, I think, at least in 2 instances where you, instead of saying the lower, you picked the higher. And or actually in one instance, you picked, instead of the higher, you picked the lower. So it made me wonder if it wasn't perhaps inadvertent.
I doubt that it was inadvertent. Question is, do we have a rationale for this? Other than more.
Well, I don't know if it belongs in bank but certainly in terms of flooding, you know, I don't know if you watched any of the webinars or went to the DEP hearings for their land subject to flooding potential changes. But I know they're gonna likely make a lot of changes to those definitions in terms of considering future flooding. So I don't know if I don't know if that's relevant to the definition of bank in terms of taking into account flooding, you know, just in terms of the mean annual flood level. I don't know if that's where we came up with that.
Courtney, do you know if those changes are in the, I haven't looked, do you know if those are in the, but I know that they have some draft regulation changes posted now. Do you know if those are in those, or is that a future batch that they haven't posted yet?
No, they have, great, I don't know what I did with
They
it.
sent it. I sent out a link to everybody. I heard part of a thing there, but I sent out a link to everybody that shows the red line, that shows the changes that they're coming up with. I did, well, that was probably a week or so ago. So that, so you can see, and it's easy to sort of just scroll through it and see the red line of the changes there. I can't remember whether, I guess we can look and see what I can't remember if I saved that file directly for myself. I think I just,
A lot of their changes had to do with flooding. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's coastal that wasn't relevant to us. There's also stuff with like stormwater standards, but I think they were talking about models that should be used for figuring out flooding.
So there's a couple tacks we could take here. One would be to say we want to look at the new drafts the DEP is coming up with and adopt those unless there's a good reason not to, which I doubt.
oh no,
Another one.
we have no choice but to adopt them.
Right, but is there something that we want to be different or in addition to what those?
Right, we can
say?
look at that if we want to see, I guess maybe we should go look at the flooding ones, whether we want to add anything more to that.
And the other question is if we want to if we need to duplicate it versus having a short explanation and say the real definition is in the state regs or something of that form.
Yeah, you know, legally it always is in the state unless we're being more restrictive. Let's see, I'm trying to find. Well, maybe it's, I guess we should go back. I don't mind, I can go look at the definition. There weren't that many things that changed outside of the coastal regs and the stormwater. I don't even remember that much on the flooding, on the isolated land and land subject to flooding or bank. It's probably, it seemed only like a handful of things. So we can go back and look at that and come back to this. I mean, I could try to pull it up now, but I guess I don't think it's worth
No,
it.
I don't think it's helpful to try
No, we
to.
go look. I would say, so I would ask everybody, given some of the issues about protecting and dealing with flooding and things like that, that I'd be happy to stay with the higher thing that we have here. And that, and
I would too. And this didn't puzzle me at all in the sense that we talk about a lower boundary being the mean annual low flow level and an upper boundary of the bank being this thing or that thing, whichever is higher, is we're looking for an upper boundary. So I honestly think higher makes more sense.
do you think, Joyce, that we have any problem just defending this for some reason?
Well, we'll find out. You don't have a lot of people dealing with perennial streams and riverfront, so you know, it may or may not come up.
Yeah, plus it's been around forever. We basically had,
I mean, I think, I don't know, I wished in here there was some justification for picking higher rather than just being an arbitrary, let's just make it as more as difficult as we can.
well, I guess for now, I'd say, but I don't,
Well, I
we
would
don't-
say
yeah,
the most important thing to me would be the upper boundary being higher if it means that the mean annual flood level is higher, because I mean that just seems like if that's where the flooding is happening every year, then it only just logically makes sense to consider that versus
Yeah,
So-
I was in the same
Oh,
place.
I don't know.
Same
But
reason.
when you read I'm trying to compare this definition to the Wetlands Protection Act
Yeah.
and um, the upper boundary of a bank. I mean, I'm not sure why low flow is even important. I mean, it does state the lower boundary of a bank is mean annual low flow, but that's not really, the upper bank is the first, is what you measure from. It's the first observable break in slope or the mean annual flood level. You're not picking, low flow has nothing really to do with it.
yeah, but
With establishing where bank is, because bank, once you establish where bank is, you're either knowing whether or not you have to replicate bank, once you've established what and where it is, and then, or you're using that as the beginning of where you measure the riparian zone.
okay,
Couldn't you end up with cases where the first observable break is a very long way away and not
Yes,
functionally part of the bank?
yes. I mean, the first observable break could be way out into the wetlands, which is fine.
Well, no,
Right.
no, but it could be totally upland, which would be a problem from trying
Not
to defend.
generally, no. The first observable break of a perennial stream is generally, it could either be, in the case of a wide floodplain, it could be out in the middle of the floodplain. Or in other cases, it could coincide with the edge of there may be no bordering vegetated wetland, it might just be bank. Because
yeah,
the
that's
first
his
break
point.
is,
That's his point, that if there's no BVW,
then the resource area, there may not be the resource area of bordering vegetated wetlands, the resource area might be bank.
right, but he's more saying that whether a break could create a whole area that's considered a resource area that's typically
really should
that wouldn't show any other characteristics of wetlands, but the I guess what I don't like is what Courtney brought up, is maybe we want to drop the break. Because Courtney's point is that we certainly want the mean annual flood level, I think, to protect that. And that if the first observable break is less than that, we want to have the mean annual flood level. If the observable break is well beyond the mean annual flood level, then maybe we don't want that. So maybe we just we're basically saying here that we just want to define it as the mean annual flood level.
How does this?
Or we qualify the break, that the observable break is connected with some wetlands or something like that.
This feels like either we're going to end up with a case where we follow the same definitions as the state regs, or we end up with different boundaries of the resource areas. And I'm not sure that we have a good reason for having different boundaries, at least for these.
Well, that's what Courtney's point, that we want to have at least the mean annual flood level. That's our justification. If we follow the state, then the state could end up with having an observable break that's below the mean annual flood level, which is her argument, which I agree with, is not to have that. So that's the reason not to follow the state, and why I'm saying, because and basically we'd be better off and just drop the observable break. So maybe
Are there cases where one of these is observable and the other one isn't?
I don't know how you determine the mean annual flood level.
Right.
Is there a way to do that, Joyce?
It's generally, but based on observations.
Okay.
I mean, so if you're looking for the mean annual flood level, you would go out to, it's not high flood level, it's not the 100-year, it's what would typically flood in a normal year, what it would normally fill up to in a normal year. So you're basically just making observations as to what it could either based on topography or whatever the floodplain looks like, depending on what particular water body.
Mm-hmm.
And in some cases, that mean annual flood level is provides a wider area than the first observable break and slope in some cases.
Right. And that's the logic of that. We like that. Because we want to deal with the better, stronger on the flood control. Do you think that makes any sense, Joyce? You don't seem to be too persuaded by that logic.
Well, I mean, these are your regs and you've had them for a long time, so I'm not gonna, there must have been some logic that made you come up with this.
Well, we're just reviewing the logic right now. So that
I'm not entirely certain it would make a difference. Depending on if you've got a perennial stream with no bordering vegetated wetlands and a bank, then it's going to be the first observable break and slope, and that's going to be the highest one. I'm not sure whichever is higher. I'm not sure in most cases it's truly going to make a difference.
right. I'd rather just keep it with the mean and drop the observable break.
I don't think you should.
Okay.
Because there are going to
Right.
be times where one of them's obvious and the other one is don't really know where it is.
Exactly.
Right, yeah, I'd rather leave it as is if we're not gonna change what it's saying in effect.
Except for Jacob's thing of where the first observable break is.
Half a mile away.
Right, which is unlikely, but right. I mean, the thing with the lower is that right? You can have an observable break, and then but the water floods over that break regularly in the current sort of regime of things. And so,
Well, one answer would be it's to change it to something where it's either the first observable break, unless the mean annual flood level is higher, in which case that's the one we use. So something in that form. And if you can't tell where, that still would cover the case where you can't actually tell where the mean annual flood level is.
Unless the, yeah, I could see that one. The first, unless the mean is higher, but then, hold on. But that, how does that work if, for some reason, the first observable break is, oh, oops, I'm not quite sure how that worked. Trying to dig up. Okay. We're gonna have to come back to this somehow. And maybe we'll go look and see what's in the proposed reg changes. So people okay with that, or do we, cause I don't.
Yes, we should assign it as a
People
homework
don't seem
assignment.
to-
Come back
okay,
to the actual
I would
proposal.
just drop the observable break. I feel like we've got what's functional and important for us.
Can you say that again?
I would literally,
So I'm gonna say I don't agree with that. I think you should have both. And whether you have higher or lower, it doesn't matter, because what if there is no mean annual flood level? What if then you're all gonna be confused. And
oh,
everybody,
could you
actually,
possibly not have that?
yeah,
Okay, then I'm gonna leave it, then I'm happy with the way it is. And live with the fact that if somehow there's some perverse thing where this observable break is who knows where, that we'll find a way to deal with that.
so you've already changed it by saying whichever's higher.
No, yeah,
So an example is, you know, the apple orchard that we just did,
yeah,
the RDA on, that had a perennial stream out in the middle of the wetlands. But there was an observable bank out in the middle of the wetlands because the roots started for the shrubs. So the edge of the perennial stream would be out there. That would be the first observable bank. But if you go by the mean annual flood, that would be out closer to the outer edge of the wetlands. So now before, under the Wetlands Protection Act, it's whichever is lower, and that would bring the bank out to where it's observable out in the middle of the wetlands, and that would start your riparian areas. But in your case, you've flipped it around, and now you've got the edge of the bank out closer to the edge of the field. So in which case that would work. But if you're on the Charles River, say, or whatever rivers there out there that you have a steep bank on, you might not have a floodplain that or a mean annual flood line that comes. Maybe it's lower. Maybe it's down closer towards the bottom of the bank, but the first observable break is higher. So in which case, the higher part would bring you to the top of bank. Again, in both instances, giving you a riparian zone that's the furthest that you could pick from the resource.
okay.
Just simply by picking higher as opposed to whichever is
Right.
lower.
I mean, the concern that really comes if there's basically a bank without another resource around it. It's the only thing that I guess is of concern to me, is that, right, because if there's another resource beyond the bank, then it doesn't make a difference what this is, as you just pointed out. So it's only if there's no, how often is there no resource area beyond the bank?
It can happen, yeah, it can happen a lot, actually.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only,
Maybe not as much in Sherborn, but yeah, it can happen. So by you changing it to higher, you've automatically, and I'm not sure, so as long as this doesn't, it doesn't get appealed based on the definition, then then you've created a more riparian zone.
So
mhm.
take, for example, the beach at Farm Pond. I don't think there's a clear slope change in the sand part. So that would mean that the top end of the bank is going to be sort of almost at the forest edge.
So that one's difficult because do you then just consider that to be artificial and you have to go around to the natural edges?
Yeah, because that's altered, right? So
Sure.
let's think of other parts of Farm Pond.
I I think we're going a little too deep in the weeds on this issue.
Yep.
Well, are we? Okay, so how do we decide, or whether we're just leaving it as is for now? And maybe looking.
Well, I would be in favor of leaving it as it is.
Okay, me too. I mean, I see the problems with it, but does anybody feel strongly about changing it at the moment?
If this is the way it was written heretofore, nobody grumped about the inconsistency with the Wetlands Protection Act, then
I
we
suspect
just-
nobody noticed I suspect we've actually been following the other one in practice, but
Exactly.
I guess, I don't know. We have other things like this that are different. Okay, moving on. Compare. I don't want to go through bordering land subject to flooding. You have to go just look at how that all compares and how much we copy it here or see if there's any improvement. I'd rather move forward than get bogged down in that. Something to be checked word for word. Bordering vegetated wetlands. That I think we're going to come back to this. This is tricky because I guess.
So this definition that I got to have here came right from the Wetlands Protection Act.
Right, that's I assume.
And it's like it was like the definition was it's like they tried to reword it.
Right.
But they don't border on water bodies, they have to border on something. Creeks, rivers, streams, ponds, even intermittent streams. I mean, they have to border on something. And not necessarily a water body. It could be an intermittent stream.
Right. I would say we can go with the state one. We don't seem to gain anything from what's in here.
yep, I agree with that.
Moving on. Okay, here's another one.
Isolated land subject to flooding.
Right,
This is another one where you changed, but you changed it in the opposite direction to make it easier. Like
Right.
you decrease the volume, and that doesn't make sense.
well, we can't have it actually, it's not.
Yeah, that's not kosher, so we have to.
Therefore, we just have to change it.
Yep.
Okay,
Well, I didn't follow the reasoning here. Maybe it doesn't matter, but if an average depth of 4 inches would mean that more areas are isolated land subject to
Oh.
flooding.
No.
No?
So it has to, well, that may be, but.
oh, yeah, right,
Yeah.
that's, yeah. Yeah,
But
that's-
I agree with the notion of
support that.
using the same definition.
Oh, yeah, actually, yeah, no, when I thought about it earlier.
Yeah,
Which
you
makes.
have more, but there's no way you're gonna support that unless,
You mean how to defend it?
How do you, exactly, that's what I meant.
Okay, well, I guess, right, because it's a 1/4 acre foot. Plus, and so you have two conditions here.
It's 1/4 acre, an average of 6 inches in depth.
No, it's actually a 1/2 acre. It's 6 inches at least.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
It's an acre foot. But so 4 inches would allow it to be a bigger area. Let's see, if you had an area that was 3/4 of an acre and 4 inches deep. That wouldn't be an isolated land, whereas under our current thing, it would be. I might have the numbers a little wrong. But without changing it, you can have a bigger area with a shallower 4 inches and still be considered an isolated land subject to flooding. So we are more expansive with this definition. And so the logic again is just the simplicity of that we want to defend more isolated land subject to flooding to deal with flood control. And I guess I'm going to say for now, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to say check, whoops. Check new state reg changes. Let's go see what's coming up anyway.
right. And then the only other thing, whatever you pick, whether you pick 4 or 6 or whatever, I would also suggest if you're going to pick this part out of the WPA, that you go with the other stuff too that allows you to say, if you can't, if there's a conflict or whatever, you're allowed to use pictures or whatever necessary to just like the Wetlands Protection Act says.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
yeah.
could base it on
right, yeah,
calculations, or you could base it on
observations.
Yeah.
observations. So, there were there's 3 things.
Right. So this is incomplete.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, there's a whole thing. Yeah.
Right. Or a reference. Or we could just end up, we'll see, or whether we just end up, we go back to it. Complete.
This feels like another area where we should just make a reference to the state regs on how to determine.
Yeah, that's if we
Rather-
want to give up the 4-inch part. We could do that. Versus 6 inches. Then we could just do that.
But I think what Jacob is saying is you could say you want to leave it at that, and you could say
And reference.
as
Okay.
determined in.
Okay. We'll see if it works against their definition.
I don't.
Can I ask a clarifying question? It's not about the wording, but the way this reads is that's the maximum depth during a year. So
No.
Is that
So
correct?
what it's saying is if you have this body of water, this area that captures water at certain times of the year, and it has to be 1/4 acre, average of 1/4 acre foot, but it can't be less than, if it's less than, 4 inches, then it doesn't qualify.
I understand that, but the way it reads is if there's a big rainstorm in the spring, that is the time you measure it. It says at least once a year. Is that correct or not correct?
Yeah.
You don't wait till summer
Yeah,
to measure.
well, that's what the WPA says, at least once a year.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go there. Going down here. I stuck in here for the NIPDs.
So the highlighted, the town of Sherborn administers its own stormwater bylaw through the planning board, not the building department.
Right, that's true. right,
Oh, it's planning. Yeah.
yeah. What do we wanna change the whole definition or?
Yeah, because we want to make sure in this particular thing, it made it sound like the NPDES permit only applied to certain municipal projects, and that's not true. It's
Right.
any construction project. So that's why we asked, for example, Hunting Lane, is your project over 1 acre in size? Because if it were, then they would have to apply for a NPDES permit, which is a federal permit, but it also comes with a lot of its own reporting. It's basically pollution prevention.
So should we just use the state definition and add that sentence at the end to the state definition?
In this case, yes.
So that, yeah, I put that definition together. That's not the state definition. That's
Oh,
just
okay.
the definition I got off the.
Okay, so how about if we just use that definition and add the other thing at the end?
Yep.
Okay,
Is there anything in this that we need to think about the state changes?
no, because this is the national.
Okay,
This is a federal permit.
Okay, going on here. Here again, we have two different definitions. Where I guess we have to go check to see whether this is any different from I didn't check to see what's at the state level.
So the reason I highlighted this one again is that you're just picking parts of it. You're not,
Right.
if you're gonna go with it, then just reference you got nothing, you don't have anything special here, but you're
There's
just
nothing-
picking pieces of it.
so just say as defined in 310 CMR,
Yeah.
yada,
Is
yada.
what it
Yeah.
has here. As long as, okay, so we just have to check that there's nothing more stringent here that we want.
Yeah, and it was just calling out C, and it's really like A through D.
Yeah, yeah, no, I remember all that stuff. Okay,
On this, I assume there's an objective definition of extended drought or extreme, yeah, of extended drought.
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, you can go read that. Okay, going on here.
I'm pretty sure the regs say just wicked dry.
Yep. Okay, going down here. There's a silly little point here. Do we want to capitalize buffer zone? Well, this is just from a hangover from Matt. I mean, from Matt Burns stuff.
I'm pretty sure it's not inconsistent throughout. In some cases, if you're talking about the buffer zone, it could make sense to capitalize, but sometimes we're using it more as an adjective where I don't think it makes sense to. But I don't know.
I don't know. I guess I was tempted to not capitalize any of it so that it's simpler not to figure it out, but people care. Besides, so when it's a noun, but we don't capitalize resource area.
Right, we don't. So
Yeah,
we're not
that's why,
Exactly.
capitalizing river. or
Why are we
any other-
capitalizing site?
uh,
I don't like when lots of random words are capitalized.
yes, it's
And it
very,
feels very German, not
it's also-
English.
it's actually
Have
very, it's very
All the
Indian.
nouns.
Indians do a lot of that. Okay, we will drop the capitalization. Moving on. Oh, God, this is that thing let's come back to this one. Because we had this whole burden of proof thing here. And I was trying to understand why there was just this limited list of things versus we had a longer list. But I just want to come back to that.
Yeah, we
What's that?
can come back to it. I think the answer is because that shorter list came from Matt Burns rather than, I think that
Right.
shorter list there came from Matt Burns rather than that.
Oh, yeah, I know that the question is let's decide whether we want to expand it, which we can do, or I guess we have to do it in a meeting, because when I tell people to go and look at things later, very few people do their homework. Let's see here. This is another little silly wording thing here that you changed, Jacob. And actually, I'm not quite sure it still works. The applicant must.
I was trying to merge a couple things here. I forget what the.
Whatever it is, let's just clean this up. Because it's basically saying that demonstrate that there is a demonstrate in writing. I mean, the goal is that in writing that there is a
Okay.
preponderance of credible evidence.
Right, and take written away. Good.
Yeah.
I would love to see specifically. It seems very finger wagging. Instead of just saying in a kind of emotionally cool way, the applicant must demonstrate in writing, not specifically demonstrate.
Okay,
I know what that adds.
right, okay. Must specifically demonstrate in writing. Maybe we should have here. Written in the application. I'll have to fix the writing part. I guess I can get rid of this. Writing in the application that there is a preponderance of credible evidence that the project activities will not have, you know, blah, blah, blah. Does this get to it better?
That scans better from my perspective.
Yeah, I think that works.
Okay. Any other comments?
Just that
Um,
next duplicative sort of, the applicant shall have the burden of proving by a preponderance of the credible evidence as explained. What's not, you know what I mean? Like we just
Huh.
said, it's your job. So that
Um,
last sentence.
Hold on, I'm not quite sure what you're talking about.
Oh, not next paragraph, but the two
Oh, down
line
here.
last sentence. Yeah,
Oh,
I think it, I don't remember off the top of my head what's in section 3.
that is the preponderant, that is the thing we were just in, the, I wanna.
Okay.
Yeah,
I want
You're
to
in
go back to
5.
that using section 3 and just go to the section name. So in case when things get redone, it's
So
less.
I have a very strong preference for making sure that we include the section numbers as well. I'm happy to include the section name, but if we don't include the section numbers, it's very hard to flip through quickly and find the thing you're looking
Okay,
for.
fine. And name, okay, that is the burden of proof. Thing that we were gonna go back to. I'll just check, it's whatever, check. We'll go back to that. I don't mind the redundancy,
Okay.
to be honest. I'm just, whatever. Okay. I'm assuming here when we're talking about performance standards for wetlands, wetland and stream crossings are met, that we want to, that we're basically referencing that DEP document. Does that make sense, Joyce?
I apologize, I haven't looked at this section, so I don't,
Okay, fine.
I hear what you're saying, but I filtered it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
this whole section is worth some in-depth reading because it's all new.
right, Zach, this is the most important part. This is what we actually started out to do. And then we added on all the other stuff. But, okay, because, I don't know, for others here, have it, and I could send it out to everybody, but there is a document that DEP has produced. I think it's pretty sure it's DEP, done by probably some like UMass, an extension or something like that, where they lay out stream crossing standards, performance standards, and whether we should probably just, without that, that we need to reference it, as opposed to saying as long as all performance standards are met, that it's too general. It's like, what are you referring to? But we'll come back.
Okay, we'll figure. I think that's another go off and figure it out, because I don't remember if that's also in the regulation in the deep.
No, I don't think the
Only
wetland
somewhere.
regs, I don't think the state wetland regs have much on stream crossing, as I understand it, but we can go back and look. Check. So I'll probably just send this thing out after this. Check. EPA regs. Moving on. Okay. Next little brain thingy.
Yep, these are all new after
Right.
the last meeting discussion.
Right. And I
To do a whole bunch of.
made a few little things here. Why don't everybody read it? Let's do it one by one. Let's do pesticides. People read it. Tell me when you've read it. Oops.
Can I ask who would issue the permits for
Hmm.
pesticide use?
Oh,
Actually, if that in number 3, if that requires a permit, then I think that means that whole clause doesn't have to exist.
right.
Because it would have to be.
Right, because altering the use of pesticides is under the state definition of altering. To which you need a permit. I mean, you need a conservation commission, not just an applicator kind of permit. I'm talking about a wetland related permit. Yeah, I mean, I could see dropping it. And the first two are right. The fact that we can't seem to, I guess we can't be more stringent and control. I don't think we can overrule the exemption that they have at the state level for mosquito control.
Yeah, that's in the act. That's not even in the regulations. That's or. So,
Oh, it's in
yeah,
the act. Okay.
Yeah. So we definitely haven't read that. Nor would. Yeah.
I don't know, maybe we just and just drop that, because I'd rather just regulate it with a permit if they want to do it and see what makes sense. Because I'm not big at all on that there's conditions that are necessary without alternatives, but maybe.
Yeah, the thing I was thinking of was for this clause was the next now I forget the name of the moths, or rather the new name of the moths, the
The squishy.
it's not squishy,
The
spongy
squishy.
moth. Yes, with the next one of those, that was the thinking behind this
Oh, yeah,
clause.
no, right. I mean, we could, I mean, I don't know what people are doing in the buffer zone, but if they wanted to do a lot of stuff, I'd still, I'd live without the 3 and just say it's generally not permitted. And let it come on a case-by-case basis.
Does that imply if you say generally not admitted, that they have to go to the Conservation Commission or somewhere? Do
Yeah.
it?
Right, they should come to us.
Should that be more specific or not? I don't care that much about this. I'm just asking.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we've never had a request for a permit just to do pesticide stuff. Usually this comes up when we, as part of a project, and we usually always have a condition to say no pesticides in the buffer zone. That's what we generally end up putting in as a condition of doing something in the buffer zone, is that we then say you can't do anything there. So, I mean, this doesn't have to be there, but I just thought that it would be useful just to give that general indication that
Okay.
we don't like it. Or at least I don't like it. I don't mind keeping those things there, even though we don't really need to have them. That doesn't apply. I could see dropping all of this paragraph. Or just dropping 3. What do people think? Or people want to drop the whole thing?
I think we could drop, I think if we have the section at all, we have to have the exemptions for 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't, so
I can go with that. What other people think?
Well, yeah, I mean, can't we just, if you want to just leave the first part, can't you just say they're not generally permitted unless otherwise exempted by state law?
Oh, that's true.
I'd have to go back and see whether the utility right-of-way stuff is by law or regulation. I don't remember.
I mean, or you could say is exempted by MGL, whatever, and I don't know.
DMR.
I'm pretty fried at this point. Hopefully you can understand what I'm saying.
Try and condense it down to a single sentence is essentially.
Okay, we'll come back to this. Fertilizers. Since this stuff is real brain twisters. It's only 8:40, but I'm still already feeling the we generally we have generally not had it allowed in the inner buffer zone or resource area. I guess I'd almost say, I mean, I never thought about it under about a resource area that we would, I don't think we'd ever allow it in a resource area. A resource area.
The reason I was thinking of leaving resource areas is that I bet we have people who have lawns that are in resource areas and don't know it.
Right. And we would probably want to tell them if they did it that they came to us to do for a permit for something. We wouldn't know it otherwise. When they come for a permit for a project, we would then say, stop putting it in the, so if somebody has lawn in a resource area and they're putting in anything, I guess it's the same thing above. Okay.
So amongst other questions I was pondering while writing this one was, should it be scoped more down to saying only in pre-existing landscaped portion of buffer zones, or is that going to be obvious and doesn't need to be stated? And then trying to figure out how to say we want no phosphorus versions, but other if you're using something that's not a commercial, if you're using, say, compost, there's some phosphorus in there. I think that's acceptable. How do we phrase that?
Um,
I'm not sure. Phosphorus needs a little spelling repair, but sorry.
this reg stuff is,
Yeah, no O, no last O, right?
Does that one have more than one correct spelling?
okay.
In the UK, maybe.
Aluminium.
I tend to
Yes.
use lots of UK spellings incorrectly, so wouldn't surprise me at all.
Okay, what happened to you? Phew. Wordsmithing is something else. You want to think about this, I could just create a file that just has a few things of wording that people only have to read that for the next thing there. And people can come up with things rather than do it here. And some for some reason these are yeah, this is just a few changes that I had from our last meeting that you didn't include for some reason. I'll have to scratch your head another time, Jacob, but I'll leave them in for now, because that's what we did at the last meeting. Here's an interesting one. And I kind of found it interesting how you did this. You're muted.
Yep. Then this one was I wasn't sure whether to say, oh, a tree removal thing is a type of AA versus it's its own thing.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to bring up. I thought it was kind of interesting, this angle.
I'm not quite sure how the state would see it. I suspect they wouldn't necessarily approve of it, regardless of what we're doing. But
well, just doing it as a policy is sort of a little tricky. What do people think? And even
I'm not sure I'm going to think of implications very well at this hour of the evening.
okay, so this is another one for a
I would
brain.
second Terry's statement.
Okay, so this will be another one that I'll put myself a notation here of a lot of exclamation points that I know I'll cut and paste this into a new document. And I have to go back here. I guess I won't forget this. All this stuff here. And there's some earlier definition stuff. Okay, let's go down here. See if there's anything simple. Or anything down here. These are, I like the way you split up the a couple of things in
yeah, I
there.
know it's definitely different than what we talked about, but I split it up.
No, you split up nicely. I agree. I don't think that's worth talking about. Okay, oops, what was that little change there? Oh yeah, the fee. I'll just bring it up to think about. This fee of $30, Joyce, do you a site visit is that an hour of work on average?
Yes.
I mean, your rate is
$1 million.
Yeah.
No, I think 30 is reasonable because 70, an AA is 70.
No, I'm just trying to think, this is it for site visit, additional site visits.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I don't, yeah, that seems
It's a time for us to increase that kind of fee.
probably. But
You
this
know,
would be site visits for things like, the site has a significant erosion problems and there's been phone calls, so it means going out and reviewing it. Probably triggered by something, not just a regular inspection.
Right. Yeah, I mean, these are additional. Right, we,
I know the Board of Health recently has been instituting something similar, so.
yeah, well, the question for us is just a matter of whether we raise it to like 40 or 50 bucks. To be more, because the rate, I can't remember what your rate is, even though I just looked at it last night.
Well, I mean, we don't have to know it right now, but
Okay, so I'm
if
gonna.
we should, if we want to bring it more in line with what it's costing the town, then I think,
I'll use the hourly rate plus a
Yeah.
multiplier, because it's, your time is also a cost there here, so I'll put in something here. And that'll still apply to, I mean, it's only gonna go up $10 or $20 most. And that would apply to the tree thing, because the way we have it now. Are we still okay
Well-
with the tree thing being a site, or we don't want to do that?
So the way I wrote it here is I put it in the tree thing is down
Down here.
here. And I
Right.
also noted that's different than last time. There's a sentence in here that says, if a project is determined to be exempt and no building permit is required, then no fee shall be assessed, which,
No, that's not true.
Right,
well, that's in the current regulations. We may not actually be doing that,
oh,
but that's not a
exempt,
change.
yeah,
Right.
right, not doing that.
yeah, well, it still requires work.
Still requires
on our
work.
part, yeah.
So I guess, so Jacob, I guess any town project is fee exempt. And therefore we wouldn't charge an AA fee for the town. You're right.
I
You're
mean, I
right.
think the motivation behind that sentence is saying, I want to do some landscaping, but I don't know if I'm subject to things. Do I have to, can I file these things just to be sure I'm not causing trouble? I assume that was the
Oh,
motivation.
yeah,
behind
right,
that.
that's right, because it's not just, I mean, if we stop the underlining here, so that this paragraph is a whole bunch of stuff.
So
It's-
what I might do is do you have administrative approval and then just do another number for tree removal application. Don't put it under administrative approval.
Okay. Well, then we need to go modify the other paragraph in the earlier thing to
Yeah, right, well, we'll figure,
match.
well, whether we should keep each of these things
I don't
separate.
know what a distribution box review fee is. And because they've either been done under AAs or request for determinations of applicability.
I don't know that should be a separate,
That
Okay,
should,
we can do
yeah.
that.
it should, yeah.
That's not a Board of Health thing to replace a distribution box?
Yeah,
No,
but
it's, I mean, it's, the Conservation Commission reviews every permit that comes through, whether it's Board of Health or building.
Right.
So we don't need this.
No,
Look at that, we're cutting red tape.
And so when we could break up these things. If, do we still want this sentence anymore, or we could just drop this sentence?
Dropping it is cost following. Keeping it is,
You have to go specify what the hell we're talking about. Versus an AA where you have to go out and say that it's outside of a jurisdiction, which means it is. You see, difference
but
is.
no, but exempt is different than it
Right.
doesn't apply.
Right,
yeah.
An exempt, any town project is exempt.
Oh, town project. Oh,
what do you mean a
Any
town
town,
project?
any project by the town is exempt.
Exempt from what?
But beg your pardon?
exempt
From
from
fees.
fees or exempt from
Fees.
regulation?
From fees.
But that's just because
Oh.
we're being nice. It's
I
not,
beg your pardon?
I think this is, hold on, let's separate the town thing. I think we're mixing two things.
I think,
One
yeah.
is, the idea that if a project is exempt, I don't think we have to say that there's if it's exempt and no building permit is required, it would never come to us anyway.
No,
Did
it could.
somebody-
No, if it, so someone wants to go, someone just came in the other day, they wanna drop the grate in their yard 20 feet, but they don't wanna hire a professional. So they came in and they said, can you come out and walk it? And so I said, why don't you file this administrative approval application, write in what you're gonna do, and then that will allow me to go out and walk the property. It gives me permission to go out and walk it, because it's not their property. And you're gonna pay the $70, but if it's outside the 100-foot buffer zone, I'm not gonna give him back all his money.
Okay, so then we don't, but in the
But that's-
town exemption is
That's not the
that
way it works.
we do the town thing on a case-by-case basis. I don't think we need something about the town fee.
I,
Like that.
I think that's like an internal matter. Like, I don't think we need to worry about putting that in the regulations.
Right, so I don't
I
think
think we
need to
should just
send-
take that sentence out.
Okay, I'm taking it out.
Mark,
Because I don't think other departments have things in their regulations about town projects and fees. Or maybe they do, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's just handled internally.
If we feel something strongly later, we'll have to come back to this whole amended order of conditions thing.
Oh, yeah.
That I
That-
gotta look more closely at,
So can you just roll back to the fees again?
to which,
The fees, on the last one, you have an expired order of conditions. And, I don't know that we've been doing this. A request for a certificate of compliance for an expired order requires a fee equal to the filing fee of the original notice, or $200. Now, you have incredible filing fees. So are you sure that you wanna, charge the filing fee could be 600 and something dollars or more? So you're saying for an expired order of conditions, you want to charge the original filing fee?
that's a good point. We did have a case or two where that seemed pretty extreme. Let's see.
Yeah, what do you think the logic was for that? Was that to get people to,
Yes, I think it was
Yeah.
sort of a punishment for that.
don't let it expire.
Yes,
Yeah, but the ones
Because
we're
other-
finding now that have expired like 10 years ago.
yeah,
well, do we want to still have a penalty and just make this number a little larger without and not having to deal with what the original fee was? We could say $400 or whichever is less, if they want to find out what the original fee was. Or whether maybe we just have a little bit of incentive here and make it $400. Or $5 or something, just,
I don't know. Has it made any difference?
I don't know. I think we should have something there just in case it's for somebody there, even though it doesn't come up that often, that it's really negligent. I would just increase the number. Whoops. What do other people think?
I feel like we're missing some sort of workaround where an applicant would decide not to file for an extension and ask for one of these instead. But I'm not sure I see what it is. That's
Oh,
my concern, that we're missing something like that.
that instead of asking for a extension of the order of conditions. Where's that? If you wanted to extension,
Is there a fee for an extension?
extension for an order of conditions. Wow, okay, we got another issue up here. Yeah, okay.
Wow.
There's
Well-
probably a good reason that that's large enough, that's so large. I wouldn't want to remove it without stopping and considering why
Yeah, we gotta think about this.
because this is the kind of thing that's likely to come up with the big projects.
Right. Um. Okay. Do you want to think more, or do I add this to the new reduced file of things to focus on?
Let's come back to
done.
it.
I'm done.
I like that.
Okay, and so we'll have to do this
Yeah.
thing. too. I might just put this whole section in there. Okay, let's see, going on. Amended order of conditions we'll come back to. Or I need to come back to. Okay,
Stick a fork in me. I'm done.
here, the last thing. Well, I think we went back and forth. Do we include the tree policy as an appendix? Because then we can't, it has to be changed as part of that. And last time we were deciding, we wanted to keep it outside.
So didn't we talk about just putting it in there and then, but keeping the application like on the website instead of in the
Right,
regs?
yes.
I
So-
kind of, I'm actually kind of wondering if how many of these things that were appendices in the original or in the last thing actually need to be appendices. But I'd be more in favor of list a reference to say that it exists, but don't include it in here verbatim and put it on the website separately as a thing people can find.
That
So
makes
we
perfect
wouldn't just
sense.
have a reference to it where we put in the tree policy, say, see the website. In reference to policy there as opposed to in an appendix.
Oh, yes, exactly.
That's what I think he was saying.
Okay, fine. So well, we wouldn't have that. We'll look at the other appendices. Okay, I think we've used up our brain power for tonight. I'll try to create a reduced document that gets some focus that people can really look at. And then next time we'll go over that and as well as all that new stuff. When we're fresher. What's our next meeting looking like?
We
Well,
have
management,
one
right?
AA that'll be really quick.
Is that where we also having a presentation?
Yeah, the land
So we
management.
have the AA at 7:20. Then we put land management at,
You're saying an AA or an RDA?
excuse me, an RDA at 7:20. Then we have the land management presentation from 7:30 to 8.
Okay, and we don't have any other things there, okay.
No.
So what will we do? We'd make this thing at 8 o'clock,
Yep.
okay, and cause then we can go over the little thing that I send out, the shortened thing, and then we can go back to that, all the buffer zone stuff and just apply it to a project, if that's the best way to do it, or and stuff. Okay. Anybody have any other comments before I move?
Yeah. So should I keep doing the
No.
construct a clean version of everything what
No.
I think we've talked about?
No,
Is that-
we're moving some of the stuff there, because I still have to then move it into a document. I guess we could still do the, I don't think we need it at this point, because most of the things I'm gonna push over to people to talk about are the stuff that have changes anyway, so I don't think.
So I'm not trying to prolong this, but I want to put the section where we talk about winter delineation or whether or not things can be reviewed in the winter. It's right now, it's just stuck in one section of RDAs and it doesn't apply to other applications. I want to make sure we pull that
Fine,
out.
and just find a place for it and just
Okay.
write it in there, just like anybody can write in changes. Why my initial reaction of no to you, Jacob? We could talk about it. But at the moment, I feel like I just want to get these changes out because I had to go through this document and check it against the changes we had in the last one. I sent out a file and and not every single thing was moved over.
So
So I
missed
had to
some.
go find that. So that was a little like, we got a lot of great stuff in here, but I still felt I had to go back and look at everything. So I'd say hold off a little. Any other comments before I continue the hearing? I
Not
move
for
to
me.
continue this hearing till 8 o'clock on February 15th, 2024.
I can.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Michael, I. Steve,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Courtney,
Aye.
Joyce. Oh, yeah,
Aye.
Terry. I'm just going around this.
Aye.
Jacob.
Aye.
Okay.
It's just checking if you're paying attention, Joyce.
Thank you, Courtney, for that, cover my whatever. Let's see, if I go back to the agenda, so I don't really mess up here. Did announce, we did warrant, we did that. Okay, we have covered the agenda. I move to adjourn at 9:02.
Second.
Any further discussion? Anybody have any final issues on anything that we? Okay. Roll call vote. Michael, I. Terry,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Courtney,
Aye.
Steve.
Aye.
Jacob,
Aye.
Joyce, couldn't resist.
Aye.
Okay,
Joyce's cat. Meow.
yeah, right. Okay, that's why she fuzzed her image there, just in case something goes wrong there. Oh.
I can't fix it, sorry.
It's a lens focusing. Your hand was clear. Move your hand close.